Hi, welcome to my channel and welcome to the first edition of my book club on Winning Wednesdays. Right, so today we'll be doing The Richest Man in Babylon, and The Richest Man in Babylon is by George S. Clason, and I'll quickly take you through the book and the few lessons that I came across whilst I was reading it. As I said last in my introduction, that's what I'll be doing with you guys. So The Richest Man in Babylon, and I've got my notes on here, so I'll be referring to them as and when. The Richest Man in Babylon is a book that introduces its readers to the secrets of wealth. It teaches about the basics of money, and it teaches its readers personal wealth and financial management. It opens the reader's eye to the effects that our financial decisions have on our daily lives. Okay, and this book aims to offer those who are ambitious for financial success an insight which will aid them to 1. Acquire more money, 2. Retain the money that they acquire, and 3. Make their surplus make more money for them. Okay, now let's break this down. So the main aim of this book is to teach its readers how to acquire money, how to get the money, and then when you have acquired the money, it teaches you how to retain the money. Okay, and we all know that with money retention, money is meant to be spent. So when you are done with your expenses, whatever is left, the surplus or your profit, the book teaches you how to make the surplus or the profit make more money for you. Okay, so it's like a compound interest, and that is what this book is about in a nutshell. And I would want us to have a look at a few relevant facts that I came across in the foreword. And one says that success is accomplishment as a result of our own efforts and abilities. Success is accomplishment as a result of our own efforts and abilities. So George S. Clason here was trying to give an equation for success, and that equation is one's abilities plus one's efforts equate success. Okay, and your ability is literally what you are endowed with, is what you can do, is what you possess, the skills, or the talent, whatever you have. It's your ability, what you can do. And then your effort is how much you put into something. Okay, the amount of energy or work you put into a particular thing is your effort. So what you have, what you possess, your skills, your talent, your knowledge, plus the effort you add to these equate success. I hope you are going along with me. And another profound fact in the foreword says, and I read, okay, I quote, it says that our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts, and our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. I'll take that again. Our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts, and our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. Okay, so in essence, what this is trying to depict is that the way we act is because of the way we think. Okay, and the way we think is because of the way we understand things. Okay, so if you see someone acting in a particular way, it's because they are likely to have thought, that things are like this, or to have thought that this is what I have to do. And that thought is as a result of the way they understood things which means that when people misunderstand things, they are likely to act in the wrong way and think because they thought wrongly. Okay, so our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts, and our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. So your understanding equates your thoughts, and your thoughts equates your actions, or your thoughts explains your actions or your attitude or your behavior. And the Bible puts this very beautifully in Proverbs 23:7. It says that as a man thinketh, so is he. So the same way that a man think is the way he is, he or she is. Okay. Another fact in the foreword is that read. Okay, I think that's all for the foreword. So we'll go straight to chapter 1. And chapter 1 of The Richest Man in Babylon is themed The Man Who Desires Gold. The Man Who Desires Gold. And I'll quickly take you through the characters in this chapter. So in chapter 1, the characters are Priscilla. And Priscilla, it's a chariot builder in Babylon. And Kobe is a musician, and he was the best friend of Priscilla. And Nomasil is the son of a man called Akkad. Okay, and we've got Akkad himself in this chapter. And Akkad is the man who was known as the richest man in Babylon. So if the title of the book says The Richest Man in Babylon, it was pointing to Akkad. Okay, so our characters in chapter 1 again, it's Priscilla, the chariot builder, Kobe, the musician who happens to be the best friend of Priscilla, Akkad, the richest man in Babylon, and Nomasil, the son of the richest man in Babylon, Akkad. And the settings, the geographical settings for this book obviously is Babylon. Okay, it's a city called Babylon, and Babylon is an ancient city, and I personally would want to believe that it is the city that was referred to in the Bible. You know, if anyone has heard the song by the Rivers of Babylon, it's a city that is referred to in Bible story. And so this is the city that this story was, you know, this is the settings of the story. And Babylon was a city that had a mixture of wealth and poverty. So there were some people that were very wealthy in the same city, and yet it had some poor, you know, lads as well. And Babylon was known to be a very wealthy and influential city. Okay, but unfortunately it was destroyed, and up till now it's not risen again. And so that is Babylon for you. And one thing I would want us to note also is that Babylon is not a city that was blessed with so much or any natural resources. No, which means that most of the wealth made in Babylon were self-made. Okay, so the people in the city themselves had acquired, you know, this wealth. It is not based, their wealth is not based, you know, on the fact that maybe the city was endowed or blessed with, you know, gold or timber or cocoa or what have you. No, most of their wealth was self-made. And when we look at chapter 1, it focuses on, you know, these two friends, Priscilla and Kobe, having a conversation, and in their conversation they were reflecting on how much, you know, they had in the past, and one would say the good old days. So they were reflecting on their good old days, and they were reliving these days, and they realized that things were not going on so well with them financially. So they decided to consult their best, you know, their friend Akkad, and seek some advice from him. And I want us to look at a few lessons in the conversations that they had in the introduction of chapter 1. So Kobe, the musician, had gone to Bansil, and he went to him looking to borrow 2 shekels. He went to borrow some money from his friend, but unfortunately he got disappointed when the friend told him he had none, and that even if he had that amount, then he would have been very fortunate. So Kobe got disappointed because the friend had none to lend to him or even to use for himself. So after this conversation, the gentlemen, as I said, were reliving the good old days, and they were thinking, how come we are not financially stable? How come we are not as worthy as the others? Okay. And I would want us to look at a few things that they raised in their conversation. And the first thing is, they both agreed that they work very long hours. Okay, they work very long hours. So they were like, look at us, we are not lazy people. We work long hours, but how come we've got nothing to show? And that then, even in their days, is very relevant now in our days. Okay, so we notice most people work long hours, very long hours, and yet have either nothing or not much to show for all this work. And the next thing that the gentleman touched on is that they happen to be childhood friends. Okay, so these 2 guys that were talking about poverty and how poor they were happened to be good friends, okay, best friends, and yet the richest man in their city also happened to be their childhood friend. Okay, and another thing that they raised also is that they both acknowledged the fact that they had been spendthrift. So they acknowledged the fact that they had really spent much in the past. They had spent much in the past. So they had acquired some money in the past, but then it's like whatever they acquire, it just goes out because they were spendthrift. They spend much, okay? And that is not different from, most people. Most people would always want to spend more than they even earn, which of course is not a good habit. Okay, and also one thing that they said in the course of their conversation is that they have seen great wealth, huge wealth being displayed in their city, Babylon, but they hadn't experienced it themselves. Okay, right. So in their course of conversation, in their reflection, they wanted to know what was wrong with them financially, and they wanted to know why they couldn't acquire enough wealth just for food and clothing. So basically whatever they acquired through their works could just cater for their family. It couldn't go beyond fending for themselves in terms of food and clothing, and they didn't understand why it was so. And so these men were like, are our sons also going to end up the same way? They were contemplating, could our sons also grow and end up like that, like us? Are they also going to experience poverty the same way we are experiencing? Are they also going to experience lack, okay, the same way we are experiencing? So they were just contemplating among themselves. And Bansil was puzzled at the way his friend Kobe was speaking when Kobe brought up the fact that could their sons end up just as them. And so he was like, my friend, I've never seen you reason this well. I never knew you were endowed or you could speak such wisdom. Okay, I've never heard you speak like this, and even what you just raised has never come to mind. Okay, so in a nutshell, Bansil was saying he had never thought of the fact that their children would also grow up and be like them. He had never thought of the fact that their children would also grow up and take up their footsteps. And I learned a lesson in here. Okay, and the lesson is that chances are chances are our children are likely, to follow after our steps. Okay? If we don't teach them the right things, if we don't equip them with the right skills, if we don't equip them with the right principles, if we don't equip them with the right values, they are likely to either do what they see us do or become what we have. It's not always the case, but then the probability is great. Okay. And so they were having this conversation. Our son's also going to end up like us. Okay. And Akkad, who happened to be the richest man in Babylon, because of his riches, these men said this in the conversation, because of his riches, the king of Babylon himself sought his aid when it came to the affairs of treasury. Okay. So in our days, it can be equated or equivalent to the fact that maybe the prime minister would seek the advice or the counsel of the richest man. Let's say the richest man, the richest man when it comes to planning, or when it comes to budgeting, or when it comes to financing. Okay. Or when it has to do with the Ministry of Finance, or whatever you call it. Okay, so the king in Babylon sought Akkad's aid when it came to the affairs of treasury. And one lesson I learned from this is that your influence will take you places. Okay, the impact you create in a community will take you places. What you bring to the table goes a long way to determine which table you are likely to sit on. I hope you catch the drift. Okay, your influence will take you places. Whatever you bring to the table will go a long way to determine what table you get to sit on. So it determines the people you mingle with. Okay, and so it's your values. Okay, your values or the skills that you have, whatever you are endowed with, okay, will take you places. Let's quickly go back to the conversation between these two gentlemen, that is Bansel and Kobe. Okay, remember Bansel, it's the best friend of Kobe, the musician. So whilst these guys were having the conversation, there's something that Bansel said. Okay, and I personally think this statement is really out of place. Okay, but yet again, I learned a lesson here, and I would want to share this with you. So this is a statement. Listen to me, and I quote. He said, "I fear." Okay, let me say this in plain language. He said he feared that if he met Akkad in the evening, he would rob him of his purse. Okay, so lack and poverty was hunting Bansel so much that he feared himself that if he should meet his friend Akkad, and he was his friend because they've been childhood friends, not that in their adult stages they were engaging more often, but they grew up together in the same city, went to the same schools, played the same games, did this common, had most things in common, but as they grew, each of them took different paths, because obviously we all have our journeys to do. So he said he feared that when he sees Akkad in the evening, he would rob him of his purse. Okay, which I feel is so out of place. And a lesson I learned here that I'm sharing with you now is that wealth is not found in another man's purse. Okay, so my wealth is not always found in another man's purse, in the sense that you don't become wealthy by robbing others of their wealth. Okay, you don't win in life by pulling others down. Okay, you don't outshine by ignoring the efforts and the hard work of others. Okay, there are some people in life who would not, recognize or commend or applaud anything good as much as it's coming from a particular person. Okay, you don't do life like that. Okay, in life we all win together. Someone's win is not your loss. No, the fact that one man is winning means that we all have the capacity to win. It sets a good example for us. So in life, you don't win by pulling others down. No, competition is good, yes. So in life, let us learn to applaud for people when they win. Okay, let's learn to acknowledge people. Okay, even if you see them as threats. Okay, let's learn to ditch the negative energy and go for positive vibes. Right, let's go back to our story. So Kobe replied Bansel when Bansel made the statement that I thought was out of place. He said, and Kobe replied with a very profound statement, yeah? And I quote what he said. He said, a man's wealth is not in the purse he carries. A fat purse quickly empties if there be no golden stream to fill it. And I see this statement to be very, very, very profound. A man's wealth is not found in the purse he carries. A fat purse quickly empties if there be no streams to fill it. So basically what he was trying to say, literally, is that one is not wealthy just by the amounts they carry in their purse or at a particular time. Okay, and even if the purse or your account is so fat, if you've got so much in either your purse or your account and you don't have any system, okay, to replace the wealth that goes out of this purse or account, then you're not wealthy. Okay, so Bansel was talking about compound interest here. No matter how much you have in life, no matter how much you possess, you should always make a conscious and an intentional effort, to do better. Okay, to upgrade yourself. So coming back to money, what he is trying to say is, no matter how much you have, if you don't have a system that brings in more every now and then you're not wealthy. Okay, let me break down this lesson. Our wealth is not limited or defined by our purchasing power. Okay, so one's wealth is not limited or defined by their purchasing power. Okay, but for me, wealth, it's your ability to be sustained financially for as long as you live, and sometimes if you choose not to work anymore. Okay, so I would call a man very wealthy if they've got the ability to sustain themselves and their families for a very long time without them having to work. For example, okay, and that is what is usually referred to as one's net worth. I don't know if you hear, people saying this, that's his net worth. He's worth this, she's worth that much. So if you have, a certain amount of money or wealth, because it's not worth, it's not just money. If you have a certain amount of wealth, and let's say, for example, I choose not to work for the next year. If anyone is trying to calculate my wealth, it will be my ability to sustain myself and every other person that I cater for, or any other person who financially depends on me for that year, when I don't get to work. So that is my definition of wealth. Now let's go back to our story. So whilst these gentlemen were having the conversation, it dawned on Kobe the musician, that Nomasir, who happened to be Akkad's son, was also very rich. Okay, so 4 characters we've seen in this chapter: Bansil, Kobi, Nomasir, and Akkad. Bansil and Kobi were contemplating and evaluating how much, they've got nothing, how much they lack financially and in terms of wealth. And Akkad is known to be the richest man in Babylon. And his son, Nomasir, is also known to be very rich. Okay, so they thought to themselves, could it be that Akkad might have taught his son Nomasir the secret of wealth? Because if not so, how come he is rich and the son is rich? We are not rich, and our sons or our children are also not rich. And so they said to themselves, let us go to our childhood friend and ask him to teach us the secrets of wealth. Okay, and one lesson I learned here is that in life, don't be too proud to learn from others who have done what you want to do. Don't be too proud to learn from others who have achieved what you want to achieve. It might be that you want to undertake a venture, a project, or what have you. Okay, there are always people who have told the same path that you want to. Don't feel too entitled. Don't be too proud to go and ask them how they made it. Okay, it could be a subordinate, it could be a boss, it could be a colleague, it could be a peer. But don't be too proud. Don't feel too entitled to go and ask people for help if you feel they can help you. And the opposite is also very true. In life, don't feel too proud to share whatever you know. Be willing to share with others. Be willing to give out and help others. Okay, share and know what you have. Okay, we are not, after all, we are not in an exam room. As I said, life is not a competition. It's a battle, but not a competition. We are not competing against each other. We are not in an exam room. So don't, hesitate to help others or to share others. Share with others. Encourage others. Promote others. Give honor to whom honor is due. Okay, be prepared to invest in other people. Be interested in other people. Okay, because you know why? Life is a two-way journey. It is said that the people you meet on your way up are likely to be the same people you meet on your way down. Okay, life goes in circles and seasons. Okay, you never know when you might need someone's help. So learn to share. And also don't feel too proud to ask for help. So Bansil said to Kobi, thou have made me realize why we have never found any measure of wealth. We never sought it. Thou have made me realize why we have never found any measure of wealth. We never sought it. And what's the lesson here? I found a very profound one here. Okay, and I want to believe that this sentence gave the inspiration for the title for chapter 1, The Man Who Desires Gold. Sometimes in life, we don't possess because we've not searched. We don't possess because we've not desired. We don't possess because we've not worked for it. We don't possess because we've not wanted it. We don't possess because we've not searched for it. We only sit and wish. And that is not going to bring you gold. the man who desires good. You possess when you desire, when you work for it, and when you search for it. So these gentlemen said, let us go to our old-time friend, Akkad, and ask him about the secrets to financial wealth. And know what the Bible says in Matthew 7:7, that ask and it shall be given unto you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened unto you. Right. So Banso followed this sentence with another epic one, and this is what he said: in those things we exerted our best endeavors, we succeeded. Okay, what he means is everything that you put in the best effort, you succeed. And that takes me back to George Clason's equation for success. Our abilities plus our efforts equal to success. Everything that you exert your best endeavors in, you succeed in. And so this is to say that whatever venture you take up, let's try and put in a lot of effort, because it's in doing that we thrive. Wherever you put in the work, you get results. And this is a quote from me: consistency and results prove the process. Consistency and results prove the process. Feel free to tweet it. This is by Priscilla. Consistency and results prove the process. Let's look at another sentence from Bansil. He said, with a new understanding, we shall find honorable ways to accomplish our desires. With a new understanding, we shall find honorable ways to accomplish our desires. So these men had come to a conclusion that perhaps they don't have the right mindset. Okay, so they would want to understand things, from a different perspective. And with that, they are likely to accomplish their desires. Okay, so one lesson I want to share here is, in order to learn new things, we need to unlearn the previous. Okay, that is, if the previous over the time has proved unsuccessful, then we need to unlearn the previous just to progress. And the Bible puts this beautifully. It says that you can't put a new wine in an old wine skin. You can't put a new wine in an old wine skin. So Bansil said, with a new understanding, okay, with a new mindset, with a new perspective, we shall find honorable ways, okay, genuine ways, good ways, the right ways, not dubious ways, okay, not being manipulative or anything of the sort, but honorable ways to accomplish our desires. I end this chapter, the first chapter of our book, with this lesson: that whatever you grow germinates. Okay, wherever you put work in, whatever you put work in grows. Okay, consistency and results will prove the process. Okay, and that ends our session for today on chapter 1 on the book The Richest Man in Babylon. Thank you so much for making time with me, okay, and sitting through with me to come to the end of chapter 1. Next time we'll look at chapter 2, okay. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, The Eden Project with Priscilla, please go on YouTube, okay, hit the subscribe button in red bold description. And when you subscribe, there's a little bell down there. Please don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified of every video that I put out there. Okay, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can also reach me on WhatsApp and Gmail. I'll see you next time on the book club honor winning Wednesdays, and let's win together.